Ladies and gentlemen, I am Tony Chimmel, and welcome to Road Trip After Hours. Please welcome your hosts, Mac Davis and WWE Hall of Famer, Teddy Long. Holler!
Mac Davis and WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long with Road Trip After Hours. Teddy, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. You're looking good, so I can tell you feeling all right.
I'm feeling really good because we got some good news, which we're about to disclose in just a moment here. But tell me about your weekend. You went out of town somewhere, didn't you?
Well, I had a visit to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Went right up about 20 miles out of Minneapolis and went up to do a show up there. I was along with DDP. He was on there. Bill Eadie was some of the superstars that were on that show. But it was really outstanding. Had a great time there.
Good. We've been promising some big news, and Teddy and I have been kind of keeping quiet on this. We knew after our second show that this may be a possibility about what we're about to tell you. And somebody actually reached out to us, which was after our second show, which told us kind of where our show was headed to. And thankfully, things have worked out to where now we can actually tell you that beginning next week, actually, this is being recorded on the 9th of November, 2022. Beginning next week, we will be a part of the Sportskeeda family, Teddy.
Hey, congratulations, man. Congratulations for all the hard work that you've done to make all this happen and to make it possible. And you've done a great job. And I just thank you so much for letting me be a part of it.
Oh, man, Teddy, this wouldn't happen without you, and you know that. And I want to make sure that everybody knows Sportskeeda. If you don't know what Sportskeeda is a global sports content platform. It covers the world's biggest sports and esports subjects. And it reaches, this is the part that Teddy and I are so excited about, it reaches over 100 million fans every month. So we now are on that platform, Teddy, and I can't tell you what the show is going to be called. I still don't know that. That's still under wraps right now. I just know it starts next week, and they've asked you and I to start doing a new show on their network.
Well, yeah, let's thank them very much, too, man, for checking us out and looking at our product and wanting to, put us on their platform, man. That's outstanding, too.
Yeah, we're actually very, very excited. And as we get more news, we'll let you know that news as it comes along. It's going to happen fast and quick, so stay close to social media, Teddy's or mine, and we'll keep you up to date. Teddy, I want to get into a little bit of this show right now and jump right into when you first got to WWE. You left WCW at what time?
Probably 97, I guess, because I went to Vince in 1998.
What made you leave WCW to go to WWE?
Well,
because at that time, that was kind of hot, wasn't it? I mean, WCW at that point that's 90s. If we're saying 96,
like certain people that took over there, and those people that took over, they weren't too kind to me. So actually, I got fired in WCW.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll tell you an interesting story. They sent me home. And one day I was at that time I was working out at Bally's Fitness, and I went to the gym one day to Bally's, and there was a guy that walked up to me, and I mean this probably when I tell you this story here, it's unreal. There was a guy walked up to me and he asked me, he recognized me and asked me, what I was doing and everything. I said, well, I'm no longer with WCW. I said they fired me, and he said, who? I said Kip Fry, and I think Kip Fry was. Supposedly, this guy told me that Kip Fry was his uncle. And anyway, he said to me, well, I'm going to call my Uncle Kip, man, and I'll get to, I'll get you back in, Teddy. Don't worry. So come to find out that, like I said, I never saw this guy another day in that gym. Never saw him again. And about 2 days later, I got a call from WCW from Kip Fry and was asking me to come, they gave me my job back. But I don't know how true this is, but I had heard rumors that someone had went to Dusty. Dusty, God rest his soul, he was the booker then, and he's always been fair with me. But somebody had went to Dusty and gave some bad mouth on me, and so that's how I got fired. So like I said, I ended up coming back out of the blue, met a guy I'd never seen a day in my life. And the next thing, 2 days after I met this guy, Kip Wright called me and I went back to work for WCW.
Angels, man, they're real angels out there. That's something that that's unreal. That somebody can just pop in like that.
I never seen this guy never again. No more. I went to that gym every day looking for him to thank him, but then I never saw him again.
When you left WCW, you went for a job at WWE. Who contacted you, or who'd you contact to make that switch?
I didn't contact anybody. I left and I was at home, and I think Jim Ross had left WCW, and Jim Ross went to WWE, and he was in charge of talent relations. So Jim Ross was the one that called me and brought me into WWF at that time. So I went in there in 1998 and I started refereeing. And then after I stayed in that for a while, then come to find out, I don't know what it was with Laurinaitis, he hated me for some reason, but I come to find out there that he was trying to get rid of me. So what happened, I had an incident where I was refereeing, and I think it might have been a match with maybe X-Pac and Gangrel.
Yes, it's actually a question I have, yes.
Yeah, and so what I did in that match, I counted 1, 2, 3. That's what you count if a guy don't kick out.
Right.
So, well, the guy X-Pac I don't think didn't kick out, so I counted 1, 2, 3. So they, everybody got mad at me, said I screwed the finish up, but I didn't get no heat with Vince about it because Vince said if a guy don't kick out, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to count. But I got scared because I screwed the finish up. That wasn't the finish, but the guy never kicked out. So that happened to me, and then I went to Hawaii, and we worked over there. So what happened is I had Tess. It was Tess, and I believe Christian might have been in the match. And what happened there is Tess laid down. He didn't kick out, so I counted 1, 2, 3 there, and that's where Laurinaitis, really got on me and fired me there and sent me home, But then I come to find out later, God rest his soul, Tess told me that. He said, Teddy Long, I'm going to be straight up with you, man. He said, they're trying to get rid of you. He said, Johnny told me to lay down, not to kick out. Now, Tess told me that. And I hate to say things that people told me that have passed away, because that way they can't, you can't go to them and they can verify it. So that's why I don't like to tell it because, somebody's always going to be hating and say, well, he's just lying. The guy's dead and he can't, he can't back that statement up. But that's a true statement. Tess did tell me that. So then I found out then that Laurinaitis was trying to get rid of me. He sent me home. And then I stayed home for a while. And then one day, I think they had a production meeting there. And Sergeant Slaughter, Earl Hebner, and I think Michael Hayes were in that meeting. And they're looking for a manager. And Laurinaitis' pick was Ernest the Cat Miller. And so I think Slaughter and Michael Hayes spoke up, and Earl Hebner said, well, yeah, Ernest is good, but Teddy Long said he can talk, man. He can. You need to get him. And so Laurinaitis didn't want to do that. And I never forget this. He called me that afternoon. I got a call about 3 o'clock. And he was calling me to tell me that they needed me to come to TV. But the way he gave me that call is, it's like, you again, that like that. So he wasn't too happy about that. So, that's how but after Sergeant Slaughter, Earl Hebner, and Michael Hayes spoke up for me in that meeting and told Vince, what I could do. And that's how I went back to WWE.
Well, see, that was the thing that I was going to be asking you about, was that it's obvious that Vince wasn't aware of your history with WCW, I guess, because you were already managing at that point. So when you left WCW, you've already had that experience with Doom and many other great teams. How is it that Vince was not aware that you had that talent until somebody had to speak up? Does he not watch everybody that comes in?
Well, I have no idea, man. I can't tell you why he didn't know. And then, like I said, Vince is a busy man.
Well, I guess that's my guess, is that he probably has somebody who should be telling him these things that for whatever reason didn't share that part of your background.
Well, he didn't. Well, the one thing he did tell me is once I did, he did. When I came back, they brought me back that day. They flew me in to Providence, Rhode Island. No, they flew me into Boston. I'm sorry. Then they picked me up in a car and they drove me to Providence. And that's where the first night I walked out was with D'Lo Brown. And I cut this promo on Tommy Dreamer. And I come back, and that's when Vince stopped me and stood up and talked to me and told me, he said, they really wasted you down south. And he said the other thing to me, he said, I couldn't believe I've had you right here under my nose all this time. Now, those were Vince's words to me.
Now, see, and that's the part that confuses me. It tells me that somebody didn't sell you enough to Vince, let him know the capabilities of what you came in with, because he had to find out on his own, watching you on his own program to find that out. And it seems like it was a waste when they brought you in as a referee and didn't bring you in as somebody who could manage. Now, I'm guessing that maybe managing was not that big of a thing during that time. And I'm sure you wanted a job no matter what, but watching you come in and manage somebody should have happened long before it did.
Well, you know what, Mac, I'm glad I came in that way, because that's the way it was meant to be. Yep. I'm glad that I came in, and I came in as a referee because I was letting Vince know, here I was managing in WCW big top stars like The Undertaker, Butch Reed, and Ron Simmons, and then now I'm reduced now back to a referee. So a lot of guys couldn't have took that. They would have been an embarrassment, but that didn't bother me. I went right on out there and did my referee job, and I used to walk out, and people that knew me, and I got, they'd always cheer for me as soon as I'd walk out, with my referee clothes on. But I didn't sell that. I just spoke, wave, and kept right on going. And I let them know, hey, I don't care about that managing. If you want me to referee, I'll referee. Just, give me my check.
Yeah, that's all that matters. It's business. I'll do a job. You pay me money. That easy.
Right. So that's what I let them know, by you not picking me right away to manage, it's no big deal. I didn't care.
It's something in your pocket you can go to later.
You're right. Exactly.
We'll be back in 60 seconds with more Road Trip After Hours with Mac Davis and Teddy Long.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Rent-A-Broken Television Set, the only rental service in town for women who are having an affair with their TV repairman and need an excuse to call him over.
Also brought to you by
Ed's International Condominium of Pancakes. Remember, at Ed's, it's hard to tell which is thicker, your pancakes or the dust on your silverware.
My name is Chicky, Chicky, Chicky. My name is Cha-Cha, clop, clop, cha-cha-cha. Chicky, 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 clop, clop, cha-cha-cha. Chicky, 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 clop, clop, cha-cha-cha.
Yeah, Video Scope, I'm looking right into you, and I'm letting you know that you are listening to Road Trip After Hours, 30-minute time limit with Mac Davis and WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, the cream of the crop. Nobody does it better, dig it?
Mac Davis and Teddy Long back with Road Trip After Hours, 30-minute time limit. And it's time now for Ask Teddy.
Letters, oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day. Mailman, mailman, mail today. Reach right in and pull one out. Those letters, I love those letters. Let's find out what you got to say.
Oh, boy.
Mailman, mail today.
Wanted to give a big shout out to Rufus, our security. He's right here. I don't know how much security he's going to be doing. He's sleeping.
That pup's head has gotten really big.
Oh, yeah. Rufus is growing, man.
Because the last time I saw him, he was just a tiny thing.
Yeah, there he is. That's Mr. Rufus right there. Good boy.
He is a good dog, too. Good dog. All right, let's get to the questions here, Teddy. This is from Tyler in South Carolina. What did Snoop's uncle grill outside the trailer while you partied with Snoop Dogg? That goes back to last week. For those of you who weren't watching the show, go back and watch episode 5. Yeah, you had mentioned that his uncle was outside the trailer while you were inside with Snoop. Any idea what his uncle was cooking? And the other question that's on there is, was it any good? Both the food and the smoke.
Well, one of those questions is just I don't know how you could even ask that. You talking about is it good smoke coming from Snoop? If it came from Snoop, it's the top of the line, brother. God damn, it don't get no better than that. So that's the question. That's the answer to that. And they actually were barbecuing chicken and ribs on that grill.
Did you get to taste any of it, or was you?
No,
they sent you.
No,
they got you hungry and sent you on your way, huh?
No, I'd already, at TV there, we was at a pay-per-view there, we had catering and everything, so I'd already eat, but they really were barbecuing chicken and ribs.
I've never seen you pass up food.
Well, I did.
All right, let's see. Natalie G asked, was there ever a promo or a bit that you were a part of that you just knew sucked?
Yeah, I did a promo one time. I walked out and I never forget. Vince had wrote, and he had this word that SmackDown was one of the most episodic episodes. And I swear, when I got the episodic, I could not get that out to save my life. I don't know what happened out there, but if you've seen my face, you could see I was just so disappointed in myself. But the word was episodic. And I could not get that word out, and so I just screwed that all up. So that was one of the worst promos that I ever had.
Were you ever in a group of people where, I mean, because sometimes you can do the best job that you can, but those around you may not be doing such a great job. Were you ever involved in a group of people where you just kind of going, "Oh dear God, just make this quit"?
Oh, yeah, man. A lot of guys like that, when we knew that we had to cut promos with them, we're like, oh God, here we go. So how many takes is this going to be?
Who was the worst it takes?
Oh God.
Don't say me, because we usually do it in one shot.
God, I don't remember, man. It was just a lot of guys we had to work with back there that would get this kind of terrible, with those promos.
I would imagine that some of those promo sessions too would get a little bit crazy because people would mess up, and some of the outtakes of that would probably be hilarious.
Right. Well, you just, you have to keep going over and over, and that doesn't really make any sense. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're right there. We just told you.
Yep.
So but a lot of people just ain't cut out for it. A lot of people are not talkers. That's the reason I think professional wrestling has managers for certain people that are great in the ring, but they just don't have that mic skills. And so that's where I think the manager comes in. And like I said, I think they've got away from that general manager stuff now because they don't have it in WWE no more, and they don't have it in AEW. So maybe that's old now.
Well, I would rather see a manager for the team than I would see more of that. You really don't have any other than Paul Heyman. I'm trying to think of another. That's it. There's not really any managers anymore. And to me, like you say, there are guys out there who can wrestle their ass off and look great, but suck when they pick up a microphone, and a manager would help those guys. A lot of time it's somebody getting in there working with that talent on how to use that mic. They become comfortable over a period of time and learn.
Well, that's what I mentioned too about, some guys are born to be wrestlers and entertainers. And if you can wrestle and entertain, you don't need no manager. But some guys are just gifted with wrestling. So Then they ask them to talk, they're the worst. So you have to talk for them. But I was lucky enough, I don't think I had a guy that couldn't really speak. Butch Reed and Ron Simmons were great talkers, you know what I mean?
How about Ice Train?
Ice Train, he was all right on the mic, you know what I mean? But I was a big help to him.
Yeah.
But he was good on the mic too. So Johnny B. Bad, another guy that was, good on the mic. So, but I think when my deliverance was just a little stronger, and it, and I really made you believe.
Yes, that's the difference. Make you believe.
Right.
Antoine in Philadelphia writes, is it true you were brought up on charge? I actually said something to you about this earlier today. Is it true that you were brought up on charges for being a cheapskate? Now, before you say anything, Teddy, you and I mentioned earlier that I had gotten this question. You said, no, I don't remember that. I'm going to go to the web here. And during an appearance on Stories with Briscoe and Bradshaw, Pete Gass shared a story that said you were on trial for being cheap. JBL says, no, I believe the charges were not cheapskate. It was cheap motherfucker. So, he said he gave a story of you going to toll booths and never finding the money in your pocket when it's time.
Oh well, I mentioned that. I mentioned that. I did. We used to get up to the toll booths, and I'm telling them, hey, I'm trying to find my money. So I'm looking through my pockets, but I'm really stalling, because I know you can't stand there at the toll booth. You got to keep on moving. So that by the time I find my money, they had already paid.
Yeah, you disappear to the bathroom when the bill hits the table after dinner too, don't you?
Well, I got a call.
I do see where JBL also mentions that he was in there. You see, the Undertaker was not there for this one. It was Triple H who was actually in Undertaker's place for this one. And JBL said he and Kurt Angle were sitting in the back of the room, and they were laughing so hard they had to hold each other up while you were on the stand. So it must have been really good. All right, let's see. Let me ask you, Pete Gas. Do you remember Pete Gas? I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure you do.
him and one of the guy that he was tagged with, they were Shane McMahon's high school buddies.
Yeah, I mean, legit high school buddies.
Yes.
How do you remember how well they got along with everybody in the back?
They got along with everybody. Those guys were two great guys, man. They don't have no problem. I love Pete Gas. I hit him up every now and then on Twitter and stuff. I see him and I give him a shout out. But yeah, they got along with everybody.
Shane McMahon looks like he is someone who would be fun to hang out with too.
Well, I never had a chance to hang out with him, but he was always nice to me, and always took time and talked to me. But there were a lot of guys that told me stories about him. I think Mike Chioda had the chance to hang out with him and ride with him, but nobody had nothing bad to say about Shane. Shane was just one of us. He was one of the boys.
Did you ever ride with Vince?
I rode with Vince one time. We caught the plane. I rode on Vince's plane from Atlanta. I mean, I forget where we were, but we landed in Dallas, Texas at Love Field. And so when I got off Vince's plane, then I went to Vince's limo and I sitting there in the limo and was waiting on Vince. And while I was sitting in the limo waiting on Vince, then Hogan comes and Hogan gets in the limo. And so now the next thing here comes Vince. So there's nobody in the limo but me, Vince, and Hogan. And they were talking, and right now I don't remember what they said, and I don't want to remember it. but anyway, that was one of the highlights of and Hogan let me know then, he said, hey man, the man, you got the man likes you, and so anytime I kept hearing stuff like that, and like I told you what Briscoe told me too, that let me know then, don't act a fool, the man just do your job.
Make everybody proud. Let's see.
That's what I did.
This one's going to go back to one of the stories you were just talking about earlier. Rick in the Sticks at Royal Rumble 1999. You were refereeing the match between Gangrel and X-Pac. And at the 3 count, of course, the 3 count, we went over that just earlier. But he mentions you were taking an earpiece out of your ear consistently over and over again. Were people yelling in your ear during the match?
Well, yeah, they were yelling in my ear. What they were trying to figure out, they were talking to me and they were trying to figure out could I hear them. And I think I just started, repping, and I wasn't too familiar, with the earpiece. I mean, there's really nothing to really get familiar about, you just listen. But I think I was having some technical difficulties and I couldn't hear out of that earpiece.
Yeah, he was kind of suggesting that everybody was laughing because you were trying to ignore somebody yelling at you in the back going, I ain't going to listen to this shit.
No, I wasn't doing that. You don't do that because that's Vince yelling in that headpiece.
Yes. But let's see. I like this question, actually. Jackie from Facebook writes, any favorite food stops from your travels?
Well, when I was drinking, I used to love margaritas. So the best place I'd love to go was Corpus Christi, Texas. And they had a place there in Corpus Christi called Walter's Oyster Bar. And they would make you get fresh. All you had to do, you could pick your fish right off the board. And because we was right next to the ocean.
Yep. And
the fish was always fresh because they catch them every day. But Walter's Oyster Bar was famous for the margaritas because they were only $1. And so, boy.
There goes the cheap alarm.
Well, you can call it what you want, but I had a great time. I spent about $6, and buddy, my head was buzzing. So that's pretty cheap and pretty great for me.
Heck yeah, you got to save that money while you're on the road.
Yeah.
But any other food places? I mean, like, is there a place that you've traveled to where you're like, man, if you're ever in this state, make sure you go to here and get you a steak or get you, or what kind of food did you like when you were on the road?
Well, when I was on the road, I did, I didn't eat really good, somewhat, I ate a lot of, junk food and stuff. So when you're traveling, you really don't stop and eat. Sometimes you eat better at TV at catering than you would on the road. And what we was kind of doing is after catering, after, whatever food was left, we would take that food, get you some, put it in a bag and take it for the road. But I had no really special places that I like to eat. Like I said, anywhere, back then, I wasn't healthy like I am now. So I didn't care. I'd stop anywhere.
Yeah. What kind in catering? I'm just curious. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I will. In catering, what kind of food do they have back there for you guys? I mean, is it legit good food?
Yes, legit good food. They got chicken salad. With Philadelphia, we used to go there. They bring sushi out. You'd have sushi for catering. So the catering was always good. They had food. If you didn't want to eat healthy, you didn't have to. But they had healthy food for you too. They had a variety, so everybody could be happy.
Now, does it change depending upon the event? Like if you're at WrestleMania, does that change at all? As the what they put out?
Well, sometime it did. You got a little fancier meal at WrestleMania and some of the pay-per-views.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we got time for really no more, but we're going to try to squeeze in one more. Did you ever manage Elegante? I don't even. Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. He's a basketball player, also known as Giant Gonzalez in the WWF. Did you ever manage him? I don't remember if.
No, I did not. I rode with him one time, and that was about it.
He was a former basketball player, right, for Ted Turner or something, and he got hurt, and that's why he ended up in wrestling.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I was just in the car with him once.
Yeah. I didn't know what he was. So.
Teddy, you got anything you need to push and talk about? I think you got something coming up in North Carolina soon.
Well, yeah, we're going to be November 28th, I think it is. Going to be at Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the big WrestleCade that they do there every year. So I'm going to be there for a big meet and greet. Friday and Saturday, and so we're wishing everybody to come out. It's been a while since I've been to Carolina. I hadn't seen the fans in a while, so let me just mingle with everybody. So looking forward to seeing everybody.
That's a great wrestling town too. North Carolina loves its wrestling. So
yes, it does, and I worked that territory for many, many years.
Yes, Teddy. Like I said, we're out of time. So I'm Mac Davis. He's WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and we'll see you next week. Right here, same time, same place.
Y'all keep it real.